The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Monday, the 22nd day of July, 2024. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and I will be with you this morning, bringing you everything that you expect of your favorite daily talk show. So, a lot's happened over the weekend, huh? A lot's happened. We're going to try to talk about as much as possible. But how was your weekend? How was everyone's weekend? Did anyone do anything fun? What did everyone do this weekend? Anything happening? I mean, I know some fans who wear red and white, not red and blue, but red and white, pretty excited if you're in Bermuda and follow what I'm talking about. Awesome Monday, Jamal, says Suzanne Ingham, and an awesome Monday to you as well, Suzanne. Hopefully you had a wonderful weekend. What did you do this weekend? What did I do this weekend? I went to the range. Did some training with my instructor. What else? I did some lunch and I cooked some I probably shouldn't say this, but I had some pasta yesterday. And I had some leftover cabbage from this Jamaican meal I had on Saturday. And I said, you know what? Let me throw some shrimp and lobster and take that cabbage and add it to that, because I had no vegetables, right? So I just put the vegetables, those are my vegetables, and some broccoli. So I made some seafood, cabbage, broccoli, red pasta last night. I don't know it. I think it came out pretty good. So I've been told. I was told it came out pretty good. So that's the highlight of my weekend. Putting together something to make what was, I'm going to start calling one of my world famous dishes. If anyone's interested, make an appointment with my agent and I can come cook for you as well. Anyway, greetings everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we discuss what other taxes should the government consider cutting to give Bermudians an economic boost. What other taxes? Now, you saw how the government responded to the increase by Belco. They said, since the economy is doing better, right, they can afford to reduce the taxes on the people of Bermuda. So what else do you think should be considered? The Daily Play is a who said it. So, you're going to have to guess the quote. And as you can see, no co-host today. So the first person who answers correctly on my screen will have the opportunity to, they'll be eligible to have the opportunity to win this week's prize on Friday. All right. Don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, let's jump into it. A lot has happened this weekend, folks. We'll touch on the Joe Biden thing. We'll touch on the a couple of things, but let's go. Headley and Swan says, Bruce and I experienced our very first county game. The atmosphere was grand. Very first. Wow. Well, Adeline, I'm glad that Bruce and yourself had a wonderful time at county game, and welcome to the Eastern Counties. Welcome. It is quite a time, trust me. Charles H. Jefferson II, he said this weekend he watched the Bermuda Trivia Game Show episode 2. Those last questions are hard. Well, I guess Charles is a chicken and he'll never be on Bermuda Trivia with a chance to win. Suzanne Ingham says, rested. Took a friend for a tour of the West End. Frog and Onions was lovely. Great staff up there. Car broke down. Got it fixed. Church rested. You know what? All of what she just said, car broke down, stood out, and she didn't even seem angry. She just said, you know what? This is a part of the process, part of life. But everything else that happened, it was lovely. I enjoyed it. Traveling Trotty said she spent time at the beach after getting caught up with the IT travel issues. Yeah, that was pretty interesting on Friday morning, right? If you were traveling, you may have been inconvenienced big time. Well, look, let's get into today's conversation. So last week, remember, there was a report that Belco, there was a price hike with your Belco bill starting August 1st, right? 8%, I think it was reported. Well, the government last week moved what they has been referred to by the World Gazette as swiftly to address it. And the premier basically added an increase in electricity costs at this time is simply too high of an added burden on the backs of Bermudian families. An increase in our Belco bill doesn't just drive up household bills, it further leads to increases by businesses, landlords, and other entities having to adjust to this unexpected burden. It goes on to say, by reducing energy taxes, we are taking concrete steps to ensure that the increase in electricity rates does not disproportionately impact our community. All right, so there was a part in here that really, got me when I read it last week to you all, and it was basically that the premier was saying, the economy's doing much better, right? And if the country is doing much better, if the premier is right in this, if the government can say that they can afford to do this, right? He said that the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further, right? Now, if we're to believe this is true, the question for all of you this morning is, what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? All right. What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Again, reading from the Royal Gazette, the premier said, the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. Now, if that's to be believed, what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Now, before you answer that, sticking on taxes, what tax that you as an individual pay in Bermuda bothers you most? What tax in Bermuda that you currently pay bothers you most? What of all the taxes that we pay, what bothers you most in Bermuda? Now, I can speak from a U.S. standpoint. I think all states are different as far as how they tax different things. Some states don't have income tax. Some states only, do the federal taxes. Some states don't tax on clothing, while some others do. The way they tax on goods is also different. So, in a Bermuda context, what taxes bother you most? Like, what is it? The travel tax, like that landing tax in Bermuda? What tax bothers you most? Is it the tax that you pay at the airport? What's it called? Duty. What tax comes to mind? Is it land tax? Is it sugar tax? Is it death tax? No, they eliminated that, didn't they? But what are your thoughts? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Again, you heard the premier is quoted as saying, the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. First off, has anyone felt the positives of this economic performance that the Premier David Burt speaks of? Suzanne Ingham says, my son's a mechanic. I just call him. He comes to my regarding her car. So Suzanne Ingham says income tax in the U.S. is illegal. What about Bermuda? We've got payroll tax. At least on income tax in the US, some people get something back, right? What tax that you pay in Bermuda bothers you most, audience? What tax? What is something that's taxed in Bermuda that you pay that bothers you most? Anika D. Shields says duty at the airport should be the same rate as if imported via mail or courier. You got me there because I'd never import it via mail or courier. So what's the difference between the two rates? I had no, I mean, yeah, what's the difference between the two rates, whether you bring it and pay duty or not? What tax that you pay in Bermuda bothers you most, audience? What tax that you pay in Bermuda bothers you most? But also, with the premier saying that the country's economically doing better, they can afford to reduce the energy tax, right? Which was reactive, because if they could have afforded to do this all this time, why not do it already, right? So when you get reactive like this, it almost seems like, oh, well, an election's on the horizon. So what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically, especially as it relates to taxes? What other ways? Think about it, audience. Like if your MP or wannabe MP or potential MP is coming on your doorstep right now, what would you say they can do to help you and your family economically? But also, what current tax in Bermuda that you pay bothers you? I knew this was going to come. Traveling Trotty, she says sugar tax. Shayna Smith says sugar tax. So, you know what? I haven't been wrong placing a bet with this government. Anybody want to bet out there that sugar tax has a high probability of being removed before the next election? Anybody want to take that bet with me? I think that may be one that's like, you know what, we are going to remove the sugar tax because we don't believe that it works. Something that they believe can buy, but I would not be surprised to see sugar tax removed. I would not be surprised. You shouldn't either. All right. What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Charles H. Jeffers II, he says, I don't own a retail shop, but if I did, it would bother me if I paid the same duty for things that are for my retail store as an individual bringing in the item. I believe they pay the same. Do they? Anika DeShield says, airport duty is 25% on all goods, clothing via mail or courier has 7% duty. There are actually varying duty rates for imports, but a flat rate of 25% at the airport. Okay. I have to give a think on that one, because it's almost like you want to say, nah, you want people to shop on island, shipping something. Maybe they're being friendly because they know a shipping cost, but no, that wouldn't make sense. I don't know. Let's think on that one. What other ways can the government of Bermuda help Bermudians economically? Again, if you don't know, the Balco raised the rates last week. As of August 1st, the rates will be going up, and people can see some big changes in their bills. I think it was 8%. The government responded, basically saying they will reduce the energy tax. And the premier is quoted as saying the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. Now, if this is true, what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? If the premier says that we're in a better space, we can reduce some things, well, what else can he do to help you individually? And what other tax that you pay in Bermuda bothers you most? What other taxes? What comes to mind when you think of something that you're like, why do we even pay taxes for this? What bothers you about it? Anika DeShields, we read that one already, sorry. Derek Hendrickson says, whatever taxes impact food costs. Yeah, I think food's a necessity, right? I completely understand that, Derek. Yeah. Anika DeShield says, all the sugar tax did was make candy more expensive. Well, I'd like to know. I mean, I don't know if this would be the responsibility of journalists or Department of Statistics or grocers, but I would love to see data to see how the general public responded to the sugar tax. Like, did they stop purchasing what they did because the prices went up, or did they just bite, and pay the additional? Did it change people's behaviors? Suzanne Ingham says, if you're going to remove the sugar tax, can I please have my sugar tax dollars back? Take the heavy duty tax off when we bring in. All right. So you want retroactive pay from the duty tax. You're basically saying it's from the sugar tax. You're saying, well, these last few years I paid this on sugar tax. There should be a rebate. That's what you're saying, Suzanne. Okay. Shamari Sky says lower vehicle license fees. Because vehicle maintenance fees have increased due to the conditions of our roads is only right. I like that. I like that. Look, folks, the conditions of the roads, I said it when I was riding in Bermuda last year, they must be having an impact on vehicles. We talk about reducing stuff, making it easy on people. Well, the roads are costing people. It would only be right that they look at what they can do to reduce taxes and fees on people who own and operate vehicles. I actually like that one. Yeah. What else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? You saw the government's swift response to the Balco increase last week. They said that they were going to reduce the energy tax, and the premier pretty much confidently said that Bermuda's in a better space economically where they can give some breaks. So if the premier wants us to believe that the government's in a better space economically and they can afford to give breaks, well, the people of Bermuda need more breaks. Where can we get those breaks, audience? Let's have this conversation. What areas can you say, you know what, government, we need breaks here, we need breaks there? What can help you? What can help us? Michelle White says, reduce tax on healthy food items, veggie, fruit, vegan, dietetics. What was that? Yeah, that word. But yeah, what is the tax? I mean, and obviously there's tax on everything, but what's the tax on like fruits and vegetables? I'm help me out on that. Suzanne Ingham says the cost of food is ridiculous. Anika de Shield says food tax is less of an impact than the actual shipping cost. Hedley Swan says Bruce says gasoline tax, gas tax. Okay. Because anyone, with payroll tax, no one wants to see payroll tax. Donald Trump, he said that he was going to eliminate federal taxes, federal income taxes. I'm just going to tell you, I can't trust what a politician says, but if dude actually did that, my word, I couldn't vote for him again if I chose to vote. When I say again, meaning he wouldn't, as far as right now, unless he changes something and he gets in, he wouldn't be able to run for president again after this term if he were to win. I don't believe. I think it's only 8 years, whether it's split up or not. But someone can fact check that. But if he were to do that, man, that would be an economic boost. That would be, I believe that would be an economic boost because people would have more money to spend. When you eliminate taxes, and I know governments need to generate revenue, but maybe they need to be smarter. Maybe they need some new ideas. But when you eliminate the taxes and fees and the additional burdens, people have more money to spend. We've been made to believe that, our taxes go towards our roads and our schools and our infrastructure. People don't feel that. They don't see that. And in Bermuda's case, there's less people, right? So obviously, less people is probably going to be more of a burden with the people who are left. But we need some breaks. As I said last week, I feel for these single, parent homes in Bermuda. Like, how do they do it? How do you all do it? What else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Suzanne Ingham says, absolutely, Jamel. Give me back what you took still from me. Think things through before you make stupid rules like sugar tax. Okay, she wants her money back. Anika de Shield says, I don't think sugar tax changed behavior. Diabetes is rampant in Bermuda. It's not only due to sugar. Certain foods, excess starches contributes to diabetes. Okay. Manuela Jones says the rate that passengers pay is to give an advantage to local businesses. Just as the sugar tax did not stop us from buying candy, etc., neither does it stop us from shopping overseas. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Anika De Shields says he's gonna change the laws so that he could stay in forever. Speaking about Trump. Charles H. Justice II says for those with an electric vehicle, can they get an electric bill tax break? I mean, some things make better sense and easier sense than others. What else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? What other ways can government help Bermudians economically? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, what do we say? People who haven't had a speeding ticket get something rewarded for doing the right thing? Do we ask government to work with insurance companies? People who haven't claimed get additional breaks. What do we do? What can we do? I mean, it's pretty tough. Government telling private businesses what they can and can't charge, but what they can do is create legislation and policies that allow for these businesses to actually do what businesses do, and also make sure that they're not breaking the general public in the process. Anika DeShields says single parent homes back in the day were generational homes. Yeah. Well, again, people may not have made as much back then, but it wasn't as expensive to live either. Again, generations, things changed. People can't go out and buy homes like they used to. The cost of living has skyrocketed. It's tough. It's very tough. But my hope is that when your MPs come on your doorstep, all of you will have an idea of what you want to say to them that can improve your life economically. No matter how much money you make, no matter where you are in life right now, there's something that can make your life better. There's some tax or fee that you're being charged that you're like, no, this is not right. Suzanne Ingham says, get rid of universal health. That's going to be detrimental to us. Michelle White says, yes, rebates or discounts on unused policies, car insurance and health insurance. I absolutely agree. I agree. Put something in legislation or policies. Charles H. Jeffs II says, I know we're talking about tax breaks, but I'd like to see a land tax increase for those who own land zoned as a hotel, but are not operating as such and being actively developed or redeveloped. Oh, that would be called taxing the right people, Charles. That would be something I would think is fairness. Renee Simmons says, depreciate the cost of relicensing the cars as they age to the point where it makes sense. I actually love that. Because you pay a license fee based on the engine size right now in Bermuda, correct? So no, I love that idea. It definitely should, depreciate over the time. All right, let's take we're going to go to the news break. And then after that, we'll continue the conversation, but keep your ideas coming. And do us a favor, folks. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a like, a love, share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. To everyone over on Instagram, my apologies. We will get to your comments when we come back after this break. So stick with us. We'll get after this break, after the news break. All right. All righty, folks, it's me. It's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. We begin with yet another collision. Around 9:08 a.m. on Sunday, July 21st, 2024, police and other first responders were dispatched to a very serious road traffic collision involving a motor car and a pedal cyclist on Pitts Bay Road near the junction with Mills Creek Road, Pembroke. Details were limited at the time of this report. However, the male pedalist reportedly sustained serious head injuries. He was transported by ambulance to King Edward Memorial Hospital, where at last check, he continued to receive treatment for those injuries.
The female driver of the motorcar was not reported to be injured. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to reach out to PC Taylor via email at ptaylor2@bps.bm, or you may call the main police number on 295-0011.
All right. We hope that the injured recovers well. Wishing a speedy recovery. And hopefully we have less of that this week. In news beyond Bermuda that could have a big impact on the island, the president of the United States has withdrawn from the upcoming presidential election.
President of the United States of America, Joseph R. Biden Jr., has announced that he will not seek re-election as president this November. Through a letter he shared on social media, Mr. Biden said, quote, "Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today." President Biden previously served as vice president under former President Barack Obama. President Biden went on to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work, and he expressed heartfelt appreciation to the American people for their faith and trust that they placed in him. He also endorses Vice President Harris as the Democratic nominee for president.
Interesting times in the United States there. And we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But following that one closely to see if Kamala Harris will be replacing Joe Biden on the Democratic ticket and what that looks like going forward. In other news, in sports today, well, the 2024 Eastern Counties first round was played this weekend, and here's what happened.
Baylor's Bay Cricket Club defeated Cleveland County by 142 runs on Saturday in the first round of the Eastern Counties. Led by Delray Rollins, who hit a fantastic century, 138, followed by Trey Mendes on 81, helped Baylor's Bay achieve a total of 304 runs. In reply, Cleveland County got 162, all out.
Yeah. Congratulations to Baylor's Bay. Big up to Baylor's Bay getting Cleveland out of the way. On to the next. Both games will be played in August. So big batsman right there, Delray. So hopefully Delray has some runs left in him for caught match as well. Good warm up for him. Good warm up. And folks, if you're wondering what the weather's like today, just go outside and let us know. Type in the comments. All right. Days of the year. What do we have for you today? Let me see. Days of the year. Days of the year. It is, what's the date today? It's Monday, the 22nd. So, days of the year. Let's go with National Mango Day. How do you eat your mango? Do you like it in chunks, or do you eat it straight, suck the juice out of the skin and stuff? How do you like your mangoes, audience? And do you even like mangoes? I love to have my mangoes chopped in chunks. I like cut it, take the skin off, and I don't like eating them messy. I know some of you all just like the messy mango, but happy Mango Day to everyone who likes mangoes. And how do you like your mangoes? Do you like mangoes in smoothies? I see people putting mangoes in like salads, not fruit salads, but salads with black beans and stuff. Now, I don't know. Fruit in a salad, that's not a fruit salad. It's not always one of my favorites, but I know some people like mangoes in like warm salads. I would prefer not. But do you like mangoes, audience? It's Mango Day. How do you like your mangoes? We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back after this, continue the conversation, but also want to hear from you all, your thoughts on the presidential race in the United States and the impact that it could have on Bermuda and Bermudians. So stick with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 27 seconds.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
It took 14 days to build your business plan. 6 months to build the courage to leave your day job. 3 weeks to find the perfect location. It took 10 days to outfit your space just right. And 1 day before your first client walked in the door. All totaled, it took you a full year to get your business operational. And this is just the beginning. To the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, the people that shape our economic community, we salute you and are here for you every step of the way. BEDC, providing knowledgeable, progressive, professional, and innovative support to Bermuda businesses.
Summer is almost here. Dive into the season with dog floats and dog pools. Enjoy 20% off West Paula's dog floating toys and shop our life jackets for safety in the water this summer. Get all your summer needs before the holidays and events begin. Don't forget to stock up on poo bags and check out Dicky Bags, the poo bag holder that locks in the smell until you can dispose of it. Remember, even dogs need sunblock, so visit Noah's Ark today, Bermuda's most trusted animal supply store, for all your summer essentials, and ask us about our rewards program.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Jamal Hartman here. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Wells, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. I don't know, I'm feeling good today, man. I as we got closer to the cup match, I love everything about it, but not just the cricket game, I want us to go a bit deeper and just embrace and love on one another for the time of year that it is. You know, I love the banter, like going back and forth. Somerset and St. George is all in good fun, and wearing our colors. And like I said to you, I ain't gonna be chicken this year. I'm wearing my colors because I'm just feeling very confident that this is really St. George's year. You know, I think St. George's has watched some of Somerset's best players retire. Some players are no longer on the levels they once were. And if you look at St. George's league team, they're dominating. They're dominating. You know, I think they might have lost to Bayless Bay this weekend, but they've been quite dominant. So I'm hopeful that this is our year. You all can laugh all you want. You Somerset people, you can laugh all you want, but I'm telling you, this is our year. I will have my colors on. Hey, I ain't playing with you all anymore. I'm not playing. This is our year. St. George's fans, holla at me. All right. Yeah, I'm allowed to be biased. Cup match time, right? All right, let's get back to the conversation, folks. We were asking, what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Again, the government's response to the increase in Belco rates was that they were going to reduce energy taxes. Instead of being reactive, why couldn't the government be proactive? What else can they do? Since, as the premier is saying in this same article, the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. Well, if that's the case, Mr. Premier, we should be doing this in some other spaces, not wait until something happens, but what other opportunities exist that you can ease the burden on Bermudians? Audience, what other things exist? And I'm going to go to Instagram because we got quite a few people on Instagram who shared. Jane Naturalist 19 says, I enjoyed receiving child tax benefit monthly in Canada. Wish Bermuda was set up like that. Interesting. You know, maybe a child tax benefit might be helpful for single parents especially, but everyone. Went on to say, candy, cereal, snacks, juice. The juice prices were wild. So that is a tax they'd like to see removed. I think that's part
part of sugar tax. What else, audience? I'll come back over on Facebook and YouTube. So what other taxes do you think or anything, fees you think government should remove? Nico de Shield says land tax based on the actual land mass versus the size of the building on the land. Okay, I like that. Michelle White says house insurance. How or why is house insurance based on the cost of rebuilding your home? Unless the volcano erupts, this is an unrealistic way to calculate to get mandatory home mortgage. I like this. There's some stuff I had no idea. Okay. Charles H. Jeffers II, he says, I didn't like the Bermuda. Well, that's not regarding this conversation. But what else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Anika de Shield says house insurance for hurricanes. House insurance for hurricanes. I think in Florida, they're having a challenge right now because no insurance companies really want to insure homes in Florida anymore. So it's it's a perfect storm. That's an interesting one because, again, it goes back to that conversation we often have, Anika, about businesses existing to make a profit, right? And, they know that people are likely to claim and hurricanes are, more likely to happen someplace, then they probably want to avoid it or charge excessively. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't want to be insensitive on this, You've got me thinking. Suzanne Ingham says, you nailed that, Jamal. He should have been proactive on that Balco hike. And Suzanne Ingham says, yes, house insurance is too high. Well, here's the thing with the Balco hike and what I think should concern all Bermudians. I think what should concern all Bermudians is this was a reaction by the government. This is a reaction by the government. Now, again, we're taking with a grain of salt what the premier said, that the country's improved economic performance has given the government the ability to reduce taxes further. Okay, again, let's all assume that's the truth. Let's take the premier's word. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but Mr. Premier, if this is the case, why be reactive? Why not say, you know what? We're in a better economic space. We know people are hurting. We're going to eliminate sugar tax. We're going to eliminate this. We're going to eliminate that. Why does something have to happen for the government to react? I think this is what should concern people. So, again, as we get into election season, these are the conversations that you need to be having with your family, your friends, your colleagues. These are the questions. And when you have those conversations with your family, your friends, your colleagues, these are the questions that need to be going across your people, the people seeking your vote. They can't tell you, oh, well, the economy is doing so well if you're not feeling it. The economy is only doing as well as its most vulnerable people in that economy. I'm sorry. And if your most vulnerable cannot afford to eat, is your economy really doing well? Doing well for some doesn't mean doing well for all. Anika de Shield says, since COVID-19, building materials have increased. If you can repair or rebuild out of pocket, you may not need house insurance. Well, that's the tough thing. With like you said, with building materials, who can afford? I mean, yeah, you have a pocket of people who can, but yeah. Again, what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? Renee Simmons says, a planned reaction, in my opinion. Well, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but if the president of Belco's parent company is an MP and for the government, and the government obviously probably knew this was coming down the line, then it seems like, well, that quite possibly could be a planned reaction. They knew that the price was going to go up. Okay, well, let us look like heroes and we'll fix it and we all win. Yeah, I see why you say it seemed like a planned reaction. I get it, Renee. I get it. What else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? What other taxes can the government eliminate that you feel will make life better for Bermuda and Bermudians? What other things are on your mind that you're saying, you know what? No. Ease the burden on families, ease the burden on people. What else? What comes to mind? Do us a favor if you haven't already, by the way, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. But what other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? We've heard food prices, right? Food is not a luxury. Food is not a luxury. Shelter, not a luxury. Are there taxes that rentees pay that can be considered, or that homeowners pay that they put onto the rentee? Anything in that nature that you think? I did like what Charles said earlier about people who are, have EV vehicles being given a break. I just think that may come across like a luxury at this point, even though it's probably not if we're talking about the climate. But those kind of ideas should be considered. People who are doing their part to commit to a safer environment. I guess we can look at it like that. An environmental tax break. What else? What else, audience? What other things can the government look at? Now, some people, I remember when duty was just $100, and then leading up to the 2012 election, then Premier Paula Cox took it up to $200 tax-free before the 25% kicks in. Should the government change that? Should they make it $300, or should they reduce it to $100 again for goods bought back from overseas on duty? What are your thoughts on that? Renee Simmons said, did they state increase in pensions? Yeah, I think Maya reported on that on the weekly recap, I believe. Anika the Shield says, some landlords pass land tax on to tenants. Yeah. So maybe, reducing land tax. There was a meme going around in the US saying it's unbelievable how we're taxed. We're taxed on money that we earn, right? Then we're taxed again when we go to the grocery store to spend the money that we earn on to eat. Then to clothe ourselves, because the law requires it, we're taxed on clothes. Like, it was just this meme saying that everything we're taxed on. Like, it doesn't stop. Now, again, Bermudians may say, oh, we're not taxed on those things, this and that. There's a tax somewhere. It may not be directly to you, but there's a tax in that process somewhere. I'm really shocked no one said eliminate payroll tax. Not one person. No one this morning has mentioned payroll tax. What about payroll tax? Because every year in a budget, payroll tax comes up. Whether the government leaves it the same, takes it up a bit, or reduces it. Payroll tax is always high on the list, it's mentioned. I don't believe this year they raised it, though. If my memory serves me correctly, I don't believe they did. Michelle White says, with so many unemployed, maybe free access to reliable public transportation, how many missed interviews? Okay. Yeah, I see your point. Helping people help themselves, right? Somebody could be possibly going to a job interview, need to go to a job interview and may not be able to afford to get there. That's logical. Manuela John says, I believe the import duty on electric vehicles. The government probably believe they have done their part. I believe the import. What about, I think I missed something in this. What about the import duty on electric vehicles? Manuela John. Michelle White says, payroll tax at the end of the day is not the biggest chunk of a paycheck. The biggest are health and social insurance. Indeed. I mean, they're not, but they still play a role in a check. I mean, and it's something that the government can control.
Okay, Manuela Jones says EV equals lower duty. Okay, got you. What else, audience? What else? What are some other things? I mean, we need more people in Bermuda. Is there something that we can do to attract Bermudians back to Bermuda? That can, Bermudians who return to Bermuda after being overseas, they get a reduction in taxes for a time period, 18 months of no payroll taxes. Could something like that work, or would that be unfair to the Bermudians who never left? What are your thoughts on that? We've heard some good stuff this morning. Get rid of the sugar tax, gas tax. I like the idea Charles H. Jefferson II had about idle hotels, right? Idle hotels are costing us our tourism industry. Should they be taxed for every day that they're closed? That would ease the burden on Bermudian people. You put that tax on a company that's supposed to be building and providing jobs. It would never be done, but it's an idea. But what else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? What, if anything? Look, let's be honest. All of us, regardless of how much we make, we all kind of think Bermuda's cost of living is insane. We all kind of think that. No matter how much money you have, relatively speaking, Bermuda's cost of living is high. In understanding that, what do you believe the government can do to actually help lower that cost of living? What can they do with the power they have as far as setting legislation and policies? What can they do to help? Anika De Shield says, guarantee they get jobs with progression plan to Bermudianize the workforce. I like that. And she's referring to Bermudians back home, right? To attract Bermudians back. That's pretty cool. She also says Bermudians with higher education are some of the most qualified, but how many have roles in C-suite? Indeed. Yeah. Do you think certain tax breaks to attract Bermudians back is a good idea, folks? Do you think companies who have progression plans to get Bermudians into top positions? Do you think that would be something of interest? What else? What are some other ways the government can help Bermudians economically? Janaya Barkley says, some way to cap how doctors charge for services, as co-payment is way higher than what the insurance cover, or government cover more. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, to encourage a healthier community, we need people going to the doctors. We can't have people not going to doctors because they can't afford the co-payment, right? I like that. Thank you for that. Let's keep it coming, audience. What else do you have? What are your thoughts? What are some things that you believe the government should or could consider to, make life easier economically for Bermudians? What else comes to mind? What are something that you just hate paying? You just like, why is there a tax for this? I remember when I first came to the US years ago, I just had to get used to not paying the price that I saw on a tag or a menu because of the tax. I had to get used to it. I'm still not used to it in some respects. If you tell me something's 99 cents, stop charging me $1.07. I only have $1. That's how I felt back then. But Bermudians, we have a tendency not to see the taxes because in most respects, they're already included. We see a lot of fees attached to things. It might not be a tax. What's a fee that you'd like to see removed? And keep in mind, taxes and fees make it harder to do business because the house will always find a way to win or they will no longer operate. What else, audience? What are some other ways the government help Bermudians economically? What else? What can the government do? Kathy Ann Painter says the government needs to address the cost of rents in Bermuda. Even if we can attract Bermudians back home, can they afford the rents? But what can they do?
What can they do in regards to rents? You can't look. Here's the problem in Bermuda when it comes to rents, right? And this has been the Bermudian way. It's almost off the American nightmare, lie, or dream, right? So the American dream is a nightmare. It's not for everyone. But the only winners in the American dream are the 1%. That's the reality, right? The American dream, you go off to college, you get your degree, you got a job, you buy a house. What they don't tell you is that you live in debt your entire life. And who wins? The system, the 1%, because you owe them. You're in debt to them, whether it's the college loans or the house loan. We've been taught to live debt-ridden lives, right? American dream's a lie. So now you want to talk about rents. The way the system works for Bermudians, not like Americans, Bermudians traditionally purchased homes, right? And they always had units where they can make money. So a lot of homes were treated as rental income. They were treated as separate businesses, but also to help cover the rise in mortgages, the expensive mortgages in Bermuda, right? So how can government then legislate? How can they do it or have rent controls when you've got this perfect storm monster of a mortgage? Like what can they possibly do? Because I don't think people, I could be wrong, but I don't think most people are charging excessive rents to be greedy. Some of them are just doing enough to cover their mortgages. This is a problem that was always going to spiral out of control. So that's Bermuda's version of the American dream or nightmare is, oh, own a piece of the rock. Remember, they pushed this. It was like there's milk does a body good commercials back in the day, even though now people figured out milk's probably not that good for us, right? They've driven this idea of the American dream for Bermudians to live in debt to earn a piece of the rock, when in truth, that may not make the best economic sense, at least on your own. Maybe if we still did club hands, it could be done. What else, audience? What other ways can the government help Bermudians economically? A Traveling Trotty says the financial tax is added when you purchase insurance. Charles H. Jefferson II, he says, I do think that a payroll tax elimination or reduction for a period of time for Bermudians returning is a good idea for the individual and company. This could be an incentive for both. Yeah, indeed. I concur. I concur. All right. Let's take a final break. We've got the daily play coming up. We'll wrap it up as well. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us. And I think there's another episode of Bermuda Trivia coming out tonight. Wonder if Charles is going to get any of those answers correct.
Hot summer, even hotter deals. Beat the heat with BAC's Cup Match Special. Save hundreds of dollars on our energy-saving Carrier high-efficiency mini-split units. And get a free Celio Breeze smart thermostat with any mini-split system purchase. Want even more deals? Get 10% off all of our 29-inch Comfort Zone oscillating fans, our Comfort Air Window AC cooling units, and our Hunter ceiling fans when you purchase with cash. This summer, don't just battle the heat. Beat the heat with BAC. Offer valid through August 3rd or while supplies last.
Bermuda's favorite trivia game is now a game show.
What's up, Bermuda? My name is Patrina O'Connor Painter, aka Power Girl Trina, and I'd like to welcome you to Bermuda Trivia. Ready? We're gonna be talking about people and places. I'm serious.
Now, have you heard about Bermuda Trivia before?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think you'd be able to answer some of these questions?
Just wait and see. Go to www.bermudatrivia.com. Get more information about it. Get the game. Play it with your family. Educate yourselves. Really?
If I get this wrong.
How much do you know?
Bermuda Trivia, the game show, brought to you by Bacardi. Premieres on Monday, July 8th, only on bcgtv.com. Subscribe today.
Take a look at our workbook for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
All right, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to all of you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Just spread it around. Make sure that we have ideas. You know, it's easy enough to complain about the various taxes and fees, but let's put our heads together and figure out ways that we can encourage the government to reduce or eliminate them. All right, here's one audience. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House Lenders, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can do this with you on a daily basis. Want to do the daily play, and then we're going to get into the Joe Biden real quickly. But it's time for the daily play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia. Bermuda Trivia, episode 3 of the game show will be available tonight on bcgtv.com. So if you haven't watched an episode of Bermuda Trivia, you are missing out. Very fun. And if you want to be a contestant, win some money, just send an email to contact@bermudatrivia.com. But it's time for the daily play. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, it's a Who Said It today, right? Who said it, folks? Here we go. All right. A former African activist and president. Quote, "The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." End quote. Who said it? All right. Mark Arthur C. Phillips showed up first on my screen. Said Nelson Mandela. Mandela, but he meant Mandela. So we'll add Mark in there first. We'll get him up there. Let's make sure we've got Mark. Mark won last week, I think. So congratulations to him. He's off to a great start this week with Nelson Mandela. All right. Yeah, I think I did give it away by saying former African president, but I mean, there's a lot of African presidents. It could have been, what's my mate that was in Zimbabwe? Mugabe, right? It could have been a number of people, but yeah, I think that's the most popular one people know. But real quickly, speaking of presidents, folks, what are your thoughts on Joe Biden's resignation? Personally, I feel like it's too little too late. I think quite a few things are going to happen. One, when whoever replaces him loses to Donald Trump, they're going to say this is why Biden should have stayed in, right? You already see that stuff. At the end of the day, the Democrats should have been preparing for someone else to run prior to Joe Biden winning the last election. I think the Democratic Party is one of the worst run organizations, and you can say what you want about the Republicans, but they have never been more unified in my lifetime. I mean, probably since George Bush II. I mean, they seem like they are all on the same page, even if they're not. Ron DeSantis dropped out early once he knew he couldn't touch Donald Trump. Nikki Haley stuck around, but it was no path for her. And they all got behind Donald Trump, regardless of whether they agreed with him. The Democrats you don't know which way they're going. Now, let me say what I said to someone yesterday. Please don't fall for this liberal okie doke that whether the Democrats win or not is down to black people, specifically black men. Black people don't owe the Democratic Party a damn thing. Stop fear-mongering or scaremongering and telling people, oh, well, they're going to do Project 25 or Donald Trump this or Donald Trump that. Nah, Black people want to hear what you're going to do for them. Not what the other guy's not going to do for them or do against them, but what are you going to do? So this is interesting. Those are my thoughts. What are you? Sorry, he did not resign. You're correct. He's not running for re-election. My apologies. He dropped out of the race. He did not resign. But yes, what are your thoughts on
what's his name? President Biden not running. It kind of is a resignation, but it's not resigning as president. He's just not going for his second term, right? But what are your thoughts on him not participating? We've got Anika the Shields says both are too old. Isn't retirement age 65 in the USA? Go play golf, pops. Age discrimination? Is that where we're at? Is that what we're doing? Look, I just think if a person's capable of doing a job, I don't care about their gender or age. I honestly don't. I think if someone can do the job in the way that you believe it should be done in the best interest of what they're there to serve and do, then I think that they should be able to do it. Clearly, it just didn't come across like Joe Biden was fit to do it. And people feel that same way about Donald Trump. And that's fair. That's fair. Renee Simmons says, I feel bad for Joe having to make that forced decision. I think a possible primary much earlier would have sufficed. I think they should have done the primary earlier. But again, I think this decision should have been made long ago. It should have been made long ago. Now you're in a pickle. You're in a pickle. All right, folks, got to get out of here. So here's your daily inspiration. Actually, we're going to do that same quote by Nelson Mandela. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Nelson Mandela, that's your daily inspiration for the day. Again, folks, if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Whatever platform you're tuned in on. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Meadowells, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are is out. Peace.